All right, rock and roll. Welcome one, welcome all to the Scorched Earth. I am your host, John. If you could quickly hit that like and subscribe button, it means a lot to us. Feel free to drop a comment. Boy, what a week we've had. I mean, literally in the last 7 days, it is like our political universe was ascendant and then it went all the way down. It's kind of like in the first Star Wars, where the Empire's really ready to get the Death Star going and take total control of the universe. And then Luke, who shoots the little laser beam that goes in and destroys the whole thing. Hey, this just in, Empire. Maybe you ought to put a cover over that little vent hole. Just saying, just saying. But we had the amazing victories last Tuesday, and then we see what I call the hateful eight, the traitorous coup that was Angus King, a moderate, independent, and 7 Democratic senators who are not on the ballot in 2026, amazingly, join the Republicans to end the shutdown. And as everybody is, I'm going to say I'm deflated. I was on a high after the huge victories last Tuesday. I thought we had momentum. The polls were in our favor. I do not understand where this came from. But let's start with the first culprit, and let's talk about Chuck Schumer. March 14th of this year, after Trump came in and arbitrarily fired and Doge over 100,000 federal workers illegally, stopped USAID, which had been fully funded for $3 billion. He arbitrarily said, I am not going to fund it, even though it had congressional and presidential approval in the last budget from last September. He said, I'm going to stop. And for anybody out there who's MAGA, understand this. You don't understand what really you are dealing with. You complied with the dark master Donald Trump because you said, we got to cut government. If I was president, the first thing I would do is I go to the military and go, you know what? No $1 trillion. We're only going to give you 200 billion. Make it work. You would lose your effing mind. Straight up. You would flip out. That is the problem. Therein lies the crux of it. You think we all have Trump derangement syndrome? No, it is about democracy and the rule of law. When you pass a budget, everything is funded. It stays that way. You got a problem? The next budget, you can address it. You don't go in halfway. But okay, you guys let Trump do that. You think the Democrats are all screaming? Trust me, your day is coming. Your day is coming. And I'm going to tell you something, dealing with this administration, I think we are going to get a lot leaner and a lot meaner, because right now, especially when we saw the 7 Democratic senators cross the line here and basically cut our knees from out underneath us, I think we're going to get a lot meaner and a lot more pragmatic. But let's talk about Chuck Schumer. He is the big problem. So March 14th, after that, he had a chance to shut down the government and literally put a middle finger up to Donald Trump. He capitulated. He said there, and he did the word salad, which part of the old machine always does, of, well, we don't want to have any future layoffs. Of course, it didn't stop one thing. Now we get over to October. They finally get the balls up to actually have a shutdown. And here we go for 40 days. Let's go. Let's get to it. And then Chuck Schumer allows people in his caucus, and make no mistake about it, Angus King told Brian Kilmeade on Fox on Monday, well, yeah, leadership knew what we were doing. First of all, if you are the leader of the Democrats, you need to shut that down immediately. And how do you shut it down? Well, they're independent people. No, you sit there and go, we are not going to give you one DNC dollar in your next election. I don't care if it's 4 years from now. I don't care if it's 6 years from now. You can go F yourself. We are not giving you any money, and we're going to come after you and primary you. Why does Donald Trump have so much power? Because he wields it. Because he says to anybody who gets out of line, we're just going to primary you. You're not going to get to the general election. And that's what we have here. Chuck Schumer did and Chuck tried to get a little cover here because he voted no against the bill. He allowed the 7 vital senators to make this vote, to make this deal. Now, one of two things. He knew about it and he's complicit. He's a traitor. Or number 2, if he didn't know, he's incompetent and he has no part in being in our leadership. Let's also go to Hakeem Jeffries. Let's talk about him. He said, when they asked him today, do you think Chuck Schumer should be removed from leadership in the Democratic Party? He said, no, I don't think so. He's fine. Yeah, let's get rid of 2 New Yorkers. Now, I did some research. Like I say, I'm more than a pretty face. I got an interesting proposal you are not going to hear on any podcast or in this political world. So, what do? You got Chuck Schumer. Let's just focus on him for right now. What can we do? Well, I looked up, and states do not have the ability to recall federally elected officials, Congress people, senators, president, people like that. Okay, I get that. We only have purview of people in our state, not federal people. So we can't do anything about Chuck Schumer. Let's just, like I said, let's keep our eye on the prize, talk about Chuck Schumer. Now, we can ask him to resign. Yeah, I had to laugh at that one too, because he is part of the old political machine. He is about money, he is about corruption, and he is about his own self-aggrandizing power. But there is an interesting third alternative that I dug down and I found. The House of Representatives, if they have a vote for 2/3 of their members, they can recall any senator at any time. Now, we have 435. We need 290 votes. Is there a Democrat out there with the balls to go on the floor in a Republican majority where they have 218 votes and say, I am putting a petition on the floor to recall Chuck Schumer? Unequivocally, every Republican is going to vote for that. Do we have 72 House members out of our 200 plus who will join them so we can recall Chuck Schumer? I can tell you right now, the Republicans will all do it because now it's an open Senate seat. They can run for it. They have a chance, even though it's slight in New York, they got a chance to pick it up. Now, we hunt down Chuck Schumer. We get him on the ballot. We open up the Senate seat. We get him removed. Now, are they going to run Elise Stefanik or whoever, George Santos? The Republicans are that wacky. They'll run somebody like that from New York. We can put anybody we want on the ballot. Let's AOC, whoever. You know, for all you diehards, you can bring Andrew Cuomo back from the dead. I don't know, but that is what we need to do. And we do need brave people in this Democratic Party to put their political lives out there, not worry about the money and worry about what is doing the right effing thing. And you're not going to hear this anywhere else, but that is our only remedy. And I think we ought to take aim at Chuck Schumer because he has overstayed his welcome. He is either complicit in the coup or he is incompetent. He must go either way. And that is our alternative because believe me, that guy ain't going to resign. All right? Now, let's go back to the government being reopened. Obviously, I want to throw up about 20 times a day just thinking about how the Democrats capitulated. We also saw Donald Trump go on Fox with Laura Ingraham and basically crow about, I knew I could break the Republicans, the Democrats. They thought they could break me, but I broke them. He did, straight up. And he saw what a weak leader Hakeem Jeffries is and Chuck Schumer is, and they took aim and they won. Bullseye, boom, DOA, straight up, right? So the issue here is now we passed a bill in the Senate and we're going to reopen the government. Hopefully, if Mike Johnson decides that he wants to actually bring the House back into session, supposedly he's going to give them 36 hours. We're going to get it going, business back as usual. But the Republicans and Senator Hassan said something amazing. She said, well, we're just going to trust the Republicans to bring this bill on the Senate floor that we write, and then we're going to vote on them. And then if they don't do that, then shame on the Republicans. Okay? Now we find out, I just can't even believe I'm saying this. We find out that the Republicans who crafted this bill to continue the government to start funding to refund the stopgap measure, put a little FU inside the bill. Now, what was the FU? I guess after January 6th, the FBI started investigating about where this stuff came from, about correspondence between politicians and political figures. And the FBI obtained the phone records of 8 U.S. senators to see about their possible involvement in the January 6th insurrection. Now, we didn't hear much about it, probably because Merrick Garland was such an idiot, a feckless loser as our attorney general. But now, in this new bill, all those senators who had their phone records obtained by the FBI, and funny thing, why would they only go after the 8 unless they had serious suspicions about it? But let's move off that they can now get $500,000 each for having the FBI. They can put in a bill for the FBI obtaining legally their phone records. Like, wow. Now, this comes a little more than 3 weeks after Donald Trump himself put in a $230 million bill to the federal government, which of course he controls, and he appoints the people who will make this final adjudication and decision on the monetary compensation for the FBI and the DOJ investigating him in the 2016 Russian interference in the election, and also him stealing of classified documents to the Mar-a-Lago estate, which he reputedly and repeatedly refused to give back to the government. Wow. So he's going to get $230 million, and the senators picked this up from their dark master and said, hey, I think we're going to get a little of that free cash, 500 grand each. And truly, there was conspiracy. I hate the word conspiracy because it is so overused, especially by the political right. But literally, there was something going on between elected officials. We know that the White House was in coordination with the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. Oh, fun little fact, over 70 of them in that fake electoral scheme. Remember where these fake electorates from Arizona, Michigan, they wrote up these pieces of paper and submitted them to Congress to say, oh, Donald Trump won our state instead of Joe Biden? They were pardoned by Donald Trump this week. That kind of went by the wayside in the news, right? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And these Democrats are so stupid. They're going to trust people who stuffed that in the first bill. Yeah, sure. Senator Hassan thinks that the Republicans are going to have to put their name to a vote on the ACA subsidies. No, they're not. Absolutely, unequivocally, they're not. They're going to get some procedure. It's going to die in committee. It's not coming to the floor. I will tell you this. The Epstein files will be released by Speaker Johnson before that comes to the floor, especially in a political year. Will they come up with something else? Possibly. They'll deflect, they'll do something. But you know what? To actually think you've got them cornered on a bill you wrote and they're going to actually put their name to it, honestly, Senator Hassan, you're an effing idiot. That's all I can say. Also, we have Donald Trump going on Fox with Laura talking about how prices are going lower and lower. You know, he came into this current administration saying he was going to lower prices on day one. He also said he was going to solve the Ukraine war in one day. Wow, this just in, that didn't seem to happen. But we have, after he's told Laura Ingraham that prices are down, which isn't, it's not dealing with reality. I mean, let me just talk to you. You don't need a poll. You go to the store, are prices up? Yeah, absolutely. Now, Joe Biden dealt with this issue too, and it actually was the destruction of his reelection effort. But Joe Biden, in his 4 years, yes, the cost of living went up, but wages exceeded it. Donald Trump's first year, the cost of living is twice that of what wages have accelerated in his first year in office. But here's some other interesting numbers that I seem to find. 64% of Americans say Trump's policies are making the prices they pay for food and groceries increase. This is according to a CBS poll this month. Fox News, not exactly a liberal beacon, and Fox Business tested a similar question from 2021 through 2023 under the Biden administration, and those found that only between 40 and 53% of Americans blame Biden. So Donald Trump is somewhere between between 11 and 21% higher in being blamed for higher prices than Biden was in the same period of time. A Reuters ISPOS poll actually of May this year showed that the country were to fall into recession, 60% of Americans would blame Trump versus 37% in the first year of the Biden administration who would have blamed him. Wow. Real numbers. Also in the polls, 61% of Americans have said flat out Trump's policies are worsening economic conditions in this country. This is according to a CNN poll. That number topped out at 58% in 2023 at the height of Joe Biden's unpopularity. 59% of Americans blame Trump for at least a good amount of the current inflation rate, according to the Washington Post ABC poll last week. Biden's numbers on this question were actually lower. Even when inflation was spiking in late 2021 and early 22, he registered only at a high of 48% in November of 2021. Yeah. Donald Trump is living in the bubble. He's saying that prices aren't going out, and we all know as Americans, they are. He is boxing himself into a corner, and he is not going to be able to extricate himself. Let's talk about the ACA some other time, but I'm just broken. I'm just broken. You know, on an ascendant, triumphant week, the Democrats find a way to just give it all away. It's pathetic and it's weak, and it is what the leadership of our party is, and it's time for new leadership with AOC, Bernie, the oldest guy in the party, Jasmine Crockett, people like that. They need to take the realm. The DNC needs to fund them and not the old bulls because they are destroying us. All right. If you could, hit that like and subscribe button. It means a lot to us, and we'll see you soon on The Scorched Earth.